Presidents of the United States are known for being very serious, committed to rules and customs. So you can imagine the look on faces of Capitol Hill when new President Teddy Roosevelt moves into the White House with his pet bear, who he affectionately named Jonathan Edwards. Theodore Roosevelt was a president who brought about many policies we still see today. His impact resulted in the creation of the FDA, our foreign policy, and even the national parks we see today. I'm connected to this topic through my love of history and learning more about it. When thinking about Theodore Roosevelt's impact, it's important to begin with his personal life to better understand him as a person. In his early years, he loved the great outdoors, but was a very sickly kid. He was diagnosed with asthma and poor eyesight. However, Teddy never let this get in the way of his hunting trips, book writing, or even his education at Harvard. As he grew, Ted realized he had a very promising military career as a Rough Rider. The Rough Riders were a cavalry unit that fought against Cuban forces when war was declared in 1898. Teddy led the Rough Riders and was considered a war hero after the Battle of Santiago. Theodore's life seemed to have it all. He had a great career and a rich family. However, he suffered a huge loss after the death of his wife, Mittie, and his mom died on the very same day. This kind of loss may have broken a weaker man, but Teddy was able to recover and find love again in his second wife. On a lighter note, here's some fun facts about Theodore. Teddy had some strange pets. For example, he had a one-legged rooster, guinea pigs, a badger, and even a bear. He did not stop there, however. He gave every pet a unique name, such as Baron Speckle, the rooster, Admiral Dewey, the badger, and the bear, which was Jonathan Edwards. Most U.S. presidents tend to be very old, as it can take a long time to build a political career. Teddy Roosevelt, however, is still to this day the youngest elected U.S. president at 42. This means statistically, Roosevelt is nearly half the age of our current president, Joe Biden, who was 78 at his election day. Lastly, his speech in 1912. This speech was at first very unpopular with crowds due to them not wanting a president to run a third term in office. However, the speech would be remembered forever when an assassin emerged from the crowd. The assassin shot Teddy in the ribcage during the middle of the speech. Instead of immediately going to the emergency room, Teddy was calm and collected and finished his speech as blood soaked through his shirt. According to a quote made by the shooter, John Schrack, "In a dream I saw President McKinley sit up in his coffin pointing at Theodore Roosevelt. The dead president said, 'This is my murderer, avenge my death.' It can be inferred by this quote that Roosevelt's shooter was paranoid and schizophrenic. Because of the fact he finished the speech after getting shot, many consider Ted a very tough man, which is also reflected in his presidential policies. His foreign policy is named after an old African saying, which is, 'Speak softly and carry a big stick.' This means try to reason with your enemy, but don't be afraid to use your nation's military might against them if diplomacy doesn't work first." Teddy also changed everyone's lives when he pressured Congress to create the FDA. Historically, after investigative journalists named muckrakers found out that food and drug companies were selling awful quality products, or in many cases, not even the product advertised at all. President Teddy pressured Congress to create the FDA so that we, the consumer, are better protected. Roosevelt was actually a big factor in the national parks we have today. He urged Congress to set aside land to keep it natural and beautiful. Statistically, he set aside 5 times as much land as all his predecessors combined, which ended up at 194 million acres. In conclusion, first we talked about Theodore Roosevelt's personal life, such as his time as a Rough Rider, the loss of his loved ones, and his early life. Next, I gave some fun facts about Teddy Roosevelt, such as his strange pets, how after all this time he is still the youngest U.S. president, and how he continued his speech in 1912 after being shot in the chest. Finally, was Teddy's presidential policies. These included the creation of the FDA, reservation of land to keep animals' habitats protected, and even his foreign policy, speak softly and carry a big stick. Teddy Roosevelt was not at all a conventional U.S. president. However, I hope by speaking out about the great things he did, people will remember his legacy better. After all, you don't see many world leaders with a pet bear by their side. Cite source, The Square Deal of Roosevelt, Encyclopedia Britannica. When Teddy Roosevelt was shot in 1912. History. The Roosevelt Pets, National Park Service, U.S. Department of Interior. The top 10 youngest U.S. presidents, info please. Martha Bullock Roosevelt, Wikipedia.